Yeah. It's hardly a meeting chair.
Oh, thank you.
Right.
Oh. Oh, man. Payback is coming. I remember this. Payback is coming. Well, hope y'all having fun. Seem like I'm like, no, not approved. I know, I know, no, you might have a bed or something. No,
I'm trying to make sure I don't get off work till 5. I can show you where I live at. You can put it on my porch if you want. It's good for you.
oh, you got some good for me. Yeah, I eat some good for me. Look, if you're gonna give me, it's what Indian give me, you're gonna give me the water. I said, I got to drink. Don't take it home. Don't.
This is
Drink it.
serious. You're having too much fun.
Let me see you drink.
3 minutes for a member. 3 minutes.
I got it.
cooperatively on the different projects that we were doing. So I thank you all for extending that to whoever decided that they wanted to come out and participate. Okay. Shay, do we have any items for patrons that want to speak for the board?
Oh, ma'am, well, we would like to ask for the microphone.
Thank you.
For live.
Thank you. Okay. Next on the agenda is Riverview Excellence.
Good evening, Special Administrative Board members, Dr. Patton, colleagues, and community. Today for Riverview Excellence, we actually will be honoring Dr. Patton. So it's wonderful that she is there at the board table today. Dr. Patton will be honored by the Urban League of Metropolitan St. Louis at its Salute to Women in Leadership Awards. And that is going to take place on Friday, September 9th at the Marriott St. Louis Grand Hotel on Washington Avenue. The Salute to Women in Leadership is an annual event that recognizes the outstanding contributions of women, especially when it comes to creating opportunities for disadvantaged and overlooked individuals and communities. So we just wanted to take a moment to acknowledge and recognize Dr. Patton for her award and look forward to seeing her receive that. Again, that's Friday, September 9th.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
That's it.
Okay. We will now move to item 6, which is the report to superintendent's report.
Good evening, everyone. I would like to report that I am not Dr. Joylyn Pruitt-Adams, but I am sitting in for her tonight as she is out, and I appreciate the experience of sitting here, so thank you very much.
Okay. Riverview projected enrollment 2022-2023.
Good evening again. Every year we present projected enrollments for the following school year. Am I heard, Shay? Okay. Every year we project enrollment for the school year that we are in. And this year I've submitted a report just to show what the enrollment is. It's not on the screen, so I'll read it here. We have a projected enrollment of 5,460 students. We have a projected enrollment at the high school of approximately 1,400 this year. I think that's even up from last year. At Central Middle School, approximately 700, and Westview, a little bit over 550. At our elementary levels, we have a range of 139 students all the way up to 420 students. So our projected enrollment for the 22-23 school year is 5,460 students. We will be providing various updates throughout the year on the enrollment as we move forward. Thank you.
Are there any questions for Dr. Patton?
How does that attendance compare generally with prior maybe 2 or 3 years, just in general, without specific numbers?
So, Mr. Horsley, the one that I can recall is last year, and last year we had a projected enrollment of 5,200 kids or students. So we seem to be up about 200 students. Last year, I think the high school had approximately 1,200, and they're over 1,300 this year. So, as it compares to last year, there are a little bit over 100 students additional at our high school.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We will now move to item 8, items for discussion.
Okay, that's my role. I don't know who, I think I was voluntold to sit here, so I'm going to do it. All right, the first item up is item 8A. It is student representative to the Riverview Garden School District Special Administrative Board. It is important that as Riverview Gardens moves toward a new view on the horizon, that we include our students, our parents, and our stakeholders and give them a voice at the table. Tonight's item is a request to add a student representative to the board. Having a student at our board not only gives us their perspective, but it also allows us to take their opinions into consideration. If you know about any research, it shows that as students are involved in service learning projects, it helps them grow as an individual and as a leader. It is recommended that the SAB approve the addition to a student representative on the Special Administrative Board. A recommendation for approval will be presented at our next meeting. Are there any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item up is item 8B. The item is pre-calculus and AP calculus textbook. It is in line with our CSIP goal student performance and as well as policy IIA instructional materials, and it is being presented by Tanya Ross, curriculum coordinator.
Good evening, Special Administrative Board, Dr. Patton and Dr. JP's absence, colleagues, and the school community. Tonight, I am offering up for discussion a textbook adoption for pre-calculus and AP calculus at the high school. Originally, in 2019 and 2020 school year, we did a district-wide textbook adoption for math. However, at the time, we did not have the funds in order to include the pre-calculus and the AP calculus courses. So at this time, we would like to have for you to consider for approval accepting the pre-calculus and AP calculus from Hope Mifflin and Harcourt. That is the publishing company that we adopted. The committee did approve of that. And so we would like to move forward with that. In that, it is budgeted to the cost of $8,240. Are there any questions?
So how many books will that be?
So
Just approximately.
it's a total of 35 books, but there's like 20 books for pre-calculus and like 10 for AP. There are more for the pre-calculus course than the AP. And it is included on the proposal that's attached to the document.
Thank you, Ms. Ross. The next item up is Quaver Music Educational Materials. This is item 8C. It is in conjunction with IIA Instructional Materials, our policy, and it again is being presented by Ms. Tanya Ross. That explains why she didn't move.
All right, so I'm offering before you the Quaver Educational Music Program. As you may be aware, we started writing curriculum for K through 12 music in the summer of last year. And normally we adopt somewhere between the middle and the end of the process of curriculum writing. So at this time, we would like to provide for you Quaver Music, and it is for K through 6. A couple of the advantages for Quaver Music as opposed to Music Play, which we used for the last couple of years, it is standard based. And we definitely want to move to a standard based curriculum, being that we are aligned to the national music standards at the state level. The cost, it is budgeted. The cost is not to exceed $10,000, and it comes from the C&I department. Are there any questions?
Okay. The next item up is item 8D. It is Curriculum Related Arts CTE Curricular Guides. It is in conjunction with Policy IF Curriculum Development, and it is being presented by Tanya Ross.
Thank you. My last item up for discussion is the curriculum status. We are still in pursuit of achieving and receiving our full accreditation. And one of those requirements is to have a written curriculum. We actually started this process in 2017 and 2018, where we wrote the ELA and math curriculum. At this point, we are now looking at related arts and CTE. For related arts, that includes art, music, PE, health, and then we have 4 of the CTE courses. I have included for you the status of the curriculum. Last summer, we started writing the curriculum for related arts. And when we say writing the curriculum, we are referring to the Understanding by Design curriculum framework, which has 3 stages. Stage 1 consists of desired results. The desired results is what we want our students to be able to learn and to be able to do. It includes our priority standards, our enduring understandings, our essential questions, and our acquisition and vocabulary. Stage 2 includes the evidence of learning. Evidence of learning houses our assessments. We have both performance-based assessments and formative assessments. It provides a portfolio, if you will, of assessment evidence opportunities for our students. And stage 3, the final stage of the curriculum framework, are the learning experiences, which house our lesson plans. So with that being said, art, music, and PE and CTE have completed stage 1. There is a document that is attached that shows the actual status. Excuse me. Music, health, and PE have completed half of stage 2 of the curriculum. And then art, which we did not have writers for last summer, but we had writers this summer, have completed stage 1 as well as the performance-based assessments for stage 2. The curriculum is available for your viewing. It is a state requirement that is viewed and accepted and approved by our board. You can access the curriculum on our district website, but please make sure that you are logged in with your Riverview Gardens Gmail account. Are there any questions?
Remind me what CTE stands for.
The Career Technology Education.
Thank you.
Any additional questions?
Okay, thank you, Ms. Ross.
Thank you.
Our next item is item 8E. It is Renaissance Star Freckle Renewal. It addresses our CSIP Goal 1 student achievement. It is also under policy IIA instructional materials, and it is being presented by Dr. Phil Kennedy, Executive Director of Assessment.
Good evening, Special Administrative School Board, Dr. Patton, colleagues, and community. I'm here today to present Star Renaissance and Freckle for the annual renewal for discussion. So over the past 2 years, we have been using this platform to assess and identify our students' performance in the areas of math and reading. The scholars are tested 3 times a year. They'll be tested in the month of September this year, and again in January and in the spring before the state testing occurs. The data that is generated is reported to you, the Special Administrative Board. It is also reported to the State Education Board by Dr. Pruitt-Adams when she does her quarterly reports. In the board docs, I have included the latest that we have comparing the reading for the winter 2022 to the spring 22. So you can kind of get an idea of some of the results, and I'm just going to briefly summarize it. 9 grades showed improvement in reading from the winter to the spring out of 13. And as a district, we showed improvement. For math, we had 8 grades that showed improvement from out of 10, which is a little bit different with math because we only test 1st grade through 10th grade. We stop at the 9th and 10th grade because that's where Algebra 1 stops. And so at the district, we did show improvement as well. So in addition to the data being shared with you and the state board, more importantly, it is used at the building level with the teachers. It helps them identify the standards where our students are mastering, and it also shows the areas where they need some more assistance. So it helps the teachers make a better informed decision when they're planning their instruction. Once the scholars have taken the assessment, STAR then feeds all the information into Freckle. Freckle is an intervention platform, and they're connected. And so what that does is it allows teachers, they can go in and assign additional practice for those scholars that need it on the standards that are identified. The teachers can assign it per individual student, groups of students and small groups, and that's what I see during instructional time. And then, or if it's sometimes there's some standards that the whole class that needs to be having practice on, they can assign it that way as well. They can also assign it for homework if they so choose. So Freckle is being used by the buildings. I monitor the usage data on a monthly basis. I report that out to the DLT team. In looking at last year's data, the schools that use it the most showed the biggest growth. And so the requirement is that for Freckle to show improvement is that if you're in grades K-2, that they need to spend 20 minutes a day on it for both reading and math. If it's 3 through 12, then they need to spend at least 15 minutes a day to get the desired results. And again, so I kind of just was playing around a little bit because, you know, today's the conclusion of the second day of school. And I'm curious because whenever I was asking Renaissance, I said, I want to be able to see the data on how, if the percentage of students that we have are using it at home in addition to school. And they said, well, we've never been asked that request. And I said, well, I'm requesting it right now. And so they're going to work on that. But I went to Freckle today and I pulled it up. And in July, we had students complete 29 sessions. So that means we have students that are using it at home. In August, so far at the conclusion of the second day, we have 58 sessions that have been completed. So it is being used. And again, I break that down by student growth, by school, by teacher, and then also by student. And you can kind of see how the average grade level of improvement that the student is making, that the school is making, that the teacher is making. And so I think last year we had one school on an average that showed over a whole year of improvement for all the grades. And we had some others that were pretty doggone close to that. So the data is looking real well there. So with that being said, it is budgeted out of the GOB, out of the assessment line item. And it's not to exceed $181,254.87. And then we also have $8,200 that is budgeted out of the professional development GOB. And how that professional development looks like is we put together, Ms. Sharp and I, we utilize the instructional coaches. Actually, she puts it together. I'm just involved in the planning. And then throughout the year, we have a representative from STAR come in and train our teachers. Are there any questions?
Anyone have any questions?
What was used before Freckle to assess students?
I believe that they used Galileo. That was before my time, but I think it was Galileo.
My question is, does this give you the opportunity to see which schools or which teachers are not really engaged in using this process?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
We would like for you to encourage the teachers to push that use at home as well as, because it's just simply reinforcement. It's like homework. It's reinforcing what we learned in the classroom that will strengthen those skills. So thank you for those efforts.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Kennedy. The next item up is item 8F. It is federal programs ABIT. It is in conjunction with CSIP Goal 1 student performance, and it is being presented by Lakina Curtis, Director of Federal Programs.
Good evening, SAB, Dr. Patton, colleagues, and community. The first item that I have to present to you is information on our ABIT program. I did fail to remember that we do have new board members who were not familiar with this particular program that we use in the district. So I've provided you with hard copies, and I've given them to Shay as well to upload for record keeping. So feel free to go through and look at that at your leisure. However, this has been a program that has been in the district since 2015 at our secondary level, middle and high school over the past few years, and it is now being piloted at Gibson Elementary School for this current year. This particular program provides our students with practice with skills at a high level of engagement and to master the knowledge and necessary items required for success, not only at a collegiate level, but also in any career path that they choose. Some of the big highlight items is just 1/3 of the students that participate do go on to four-year colleges, which is higher than the national average. And then more than twice the percentage of students with 2 years that participate in this program in middle school and high school also take more advanced courses in high school as well. So those are things that we are encouraged by this use of this program. The title funds will be used as this will come through federal programs to cover costs associated with Avid, the Avid system, including membership services and any staff training. The figures are included where you are for each individual site, but it is a total not to exceed $74,000. It is recommended that the Special Administrative Board approve the continuation of the Avid membership and required training for Riverview Gardens High School, Central and Westview Middle Schools, and Gibson Elementary. Are there any questions?
Ms. Curtis, would I put you on the spot if I asked you what AVID stood for?
AVID stands for, yes, you would.
I would, okay. I know what it stands for too.
Yes, you
Curtis,
would, because
I
I
know what
have
it
so
stands
many
for too,
acronyms.
But I can't remember it either.
You're right.
So, it's all good.
Okay.
It's all good. I'm gonna take you off the spot right now. All right, moving on to item 8G, federal program, classroom improvement plan. It is a part of policy GCD1, professional staff and recruiting. And that is also being presented by our federal programs director, Lakina Curtis.
Good evening again. At the last board meeting, Ms. Williams presented information on our efforts to close our gaps with providing our students with certified teachers. This too is a part of that plan. We presented this opportunity in an effort to fill teacher vacancies to the instructional coaches and reading specialists to have an opportunity to leave those current positions and to provide support in regular classroom positions. So with that plan, they were also offered the opportunity to continue to serve in their current roles. If they were a reading specialist, they could work before or after school with students in their particular areas. And if they were instructional coach, they could continue to coach teachers and work with the principal on any data and information required. So that is what you have presented the plan before you for extra duty pay to cover those costs. We have 16 instructional coaches in the district, and with that number at $16 staff at $25 an hour, as a cost of approximately $80,000. We also have 13 reading specialists, and that number comes to approximately $65,000. With benefits included, it is at a total not to exceed $178,000 at this time, and it is recommended that the Special Administrative Board approve the instructional coach and reading specialist plan to support classroom vacancies for this current year. Are there any questions?
I do have a question. The instructional coach is always seen as the teacher friend. And I want to make sure that in this new alignment that the teacher is not going to feel threatened. I see here that it says that we're going to work with the principal to identify teachers in need of support in the most least threatening. I'm less likely to ask for help if I think you're going to run to the principal. So how are we ensuring that this is not punitive if I need help?
Absolutely. Understandably, sometimes teachers, when principals have direct conversations with teachers, those teachers will share that I do need support because you may not be approachable or you're just afraid to let someone else other than your administrator know. So those are for those opportunities when the principal is aware of some additional coaching support that's required. Other than that, as an administrator in the district, we don't get into those lines of what happens between instructional coaches and teachers because of that reason. We want them to be able to feel comfortable in coming to say, this is my deficit and I need support. Thank you.
Hey, Ms. Curtis, just so you know, our district interventionist Deirdre Liddell sent me a text.
Yes.
AVID stands for Advanced Via Individual Determination.
Well, Ms. Liddell, I'll have you here next time.
Hey, I couldn't remember it either, so thank you, Ms. Curtis.
Thanks.
All right. Ms. Lane, it's Advanced Via Individual Determination.
Via,
Via.
advanced via
Individual determination. Thank you, Deirdre Liddell, wherever you are. Okay, moving on, item 8H, RGSD Secondary Schools Read 180 and Math 180. It is in conjunction with CSIP Goal 1 and Policy IM, and it is being presented by our high school principal, Ms. Tracy Nave.
Good evening, Special Administrative Board, Dr. Patton, colleagues, and community. I come to you this evening to present the Read 180 and Math 180 program or systems for the secondary schools. The Read 180 and Math 180, in collaboration with our work with Dr. Nichols, has been designated as a district initiative for our secondary schools, our secondary scholars, to address the literacy and numeracy concerns that we have at those levels. We are asking that approval of the Read 180 system and Math 180 system be approved for the secondary schools, which would include both middle schools and the high schools, for a budget impact with through title funds, with the exception of Westview Middle, whose funds will come from ESSER 3 funds. So it's $25,586.93 for Read 180 system 44 for the high school for 1 year, and then $33,283.25 for Read 180 system 44 for the Central Middle School, and the same for Westview Middle School. But of course, Westview Middle, again, that's for using ESSER funds. Math 180 for Riverview Gardens High School, Central Middle School, and Westview Middle School to be paid using ESSER 3 funds. And that's going to be $18,748.80 for the high school, $30,279.20 for each of the middle schools. So Riverview Gardens High School, Central Middle School, and Westview Middle School are requesting approval for the continuation of services for the Read 180 system and the addition of Math 180 for the 22-23 school year to be paid through federal funds in an amount not to exceed, I think that's incorrect, the amounts that we've given here. Are there any questions?
So it's the total of the 25,000, 33,000, 33,000, and 18,000.
Yes, and
Okay.
and each of these have, the ones that are being paid for the high school and Central Middle have all been funded through our federal funds and approved by the Director of Federal Programs.
Thank you, Ms. Rand.
Thank you.
The next item up for discussion is item 8I. It is summary of the fund balance report for the month ending July 31st, 2022. It is being presented by our own Dr. CFO, Levon Singleton.
Thank you. Good evening, Special Administrative Board, Dr. Patton, colleagues, and community. Tonight, I will share the summary of fund balance report for the month ending July 31st, 2022. The second page of the report, if you will advance to the next page, shows the summary of the fund balances. Is there a way to zero in on that, or no? To make it bigger?
We can pull it up on our screen.
Okay, if you all can see it, then we'll follow me there. Okay, so we're in a new fiscal year. So all of our balances have started over. Month by month, I've given you an account of the revenues and expenditures as they have come in. So July starts the new fiscal year. So this is good to see where we ended June, so that, of course, the end of June is the start of July. And so if we look at those fund balances in that first column that says first year beginning fund balance, these are our ending balances as of June 30th. So roughly about $25 million to start the school year with, okay? Moving forward, the year-to-date revenues, these are monies that we collected during the month of July, about roughly $7 million. And we see our expenditures of about $4.9 million in the month of July as well. Obviously, that gives us a greater ending fund balance for July of about $27,110,183. In the actual budget that was approved, we always ask the board to approve a capital funds transfer, okay? That is because we don't, there is no revenue source for the capital funds project. And so we have to transfer money from the general fund. And I think we brought that to you on a few occasions. And so this number right here is just a good guesstimate of what we anticipate spending. This $1.6 million in this footnote down there at the bottom in the capital projects fund.
We probably will exceed that number, but of course, we will come to the board and get those updates as times move on. If we can go to the next page that shows the grant expenditures. The grant expenditures for each column are listed, so we'll see the budget and then we'll see a revised budget. Anytime there's a supplement or a transfer, it goes into that revised budget column, okay? And then we see the encumbrances, which are bills that have been obligated but not yet paid, okay? Money has been encumbered or set aside, but the bills have not yet been paid. And we see actual. So July was kind of a slow month, obviously, with the new start of the fiscal year in terms of our grants. And so we actually spent about $1.1 million. And so we've got a long way to go between now and the end of the school year. If we go to the next page, looking at the revenues, again, same scenario. So we've got the original budget that was adopted. We've got the revisions. Again, anytime there's supplements, transfers that come in. And then we look at the receipts so far. So we've received in revenues about $3.2 million. And we see where those sources are. So Title I, for instance, monies came in of about $2.4 million. Title II, $189,000. And we see those various revenue sources. And again, these are for our grant funds only, okay? And so again, we've got a lot of money outstanding to collect, that $33,139,376 prior to the end of the school year, okay? Let's move on to the next page, page 4. It talks about the revenues, and we look at those revenues by fund. So the general fund is listed first, the teachers fund, and those are by far our two biggest funds. Then the next rows down show the debt service, the capital projects, and then our food service funds. And we can see just basically what we have budgeted, and then obviously what we have actually collected in that third column over in each of those funds. So again, very early on in the school year. So we will progress monitor. We'll give you a monthly update on what's happening with these revenues as we go forward. Also under the expenditure column, same type of scenario. We show our expenses by fund. And so when we look at the general fund and we see actual expenses of about $2.2 million, we see $6 million in encumbered expenses and so forth. So if we go down again under the actual columns, you'll see the actual expenses that we had related to each of those funds in our school district. So let's move on to the last two pages. And the last two pages kind of give us a historical synopsis. So I heard Dr. Harsley ask one of the questions about how does this compare to this time last year? Well, the last two pages show you the revenue and expenses year to year, this time in 2020, this time in 2021, and this time in 2022. So if we start at the far right column under 2020 in our general fund, this time in 2020, we had collected about $887,000 in general fund revenues. In 2021, about $1.3 million. And in 2022, $3.3 million, okay? And you can see that all of our numbers are outpacing previous years, and a lot of that is due to the ESSER funds, okay? So when those funds go away, we'll revert back to some of those similar figures that you have seen in historical years. The last page, that was the revenues. This is the expenditures on the last page. And again, it shows the same thing. This time in 2020, we had spent about $1 million. In 2021, $1.2 million. In 2022, we've almost doubled that at about $2.2 million in general fund expenditures. Teachers funds, kind of the same scenario. In 2021, $2.2 million, $2.3 million as of this time this year, okay? We are going to be very diligent in watching that fund balance. We know that we met and exceeded the fund balance for this year. And so that will be our goal, is to bring this to you every month so that we can be good stewards and watch the revenues and expenditures in the school district. That concludes the summary of fund balance report for the month ending July 31st. Are there any questions for me?
I have a question. Oh, go ahead, ma'am.
Ms. Lang, did you- okay, Ms. Lang.
Dr. Singleton,
Yes,
I'm gonna try to make this as layman's as I can.
yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Two things. Number one,
Sure.
is this information posted on the website?
When you say posted on the website, this information is included in board docs, which there's a public component. So, the public does have access to the information that we share.
If they know how to get on board docs?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, so
Right.
it is there, but it's not, it's embedded, I'll say, in
Right.
board docs.
Right.
And the reason I'm asking, these are questions that are presented to me
Sure,
from the community.
sure. And let me share
Okay.
this with you. Our annual audits are posted on the website every year, okay? So once, this is audit season, our auditors were here last week doing some preliminary work. In December is generally the time where they come in and issue our final audit report. And those are public documents. We actually post those to the website. But again, you do have to know how to navigate through the finance page, find all of this information. But we do publicize our financials. That's not something that we try and, hold back or keep a secret. That's public information.
Okay, and the second question is regarding proposition. When the public votes for a proposition for additional funds for the school district, as there was one in 2020,
Sure.
do you account, is there a separate way that you account for those funds separate from the general fund and the capital fund? Do you keep that separate, or is that kind of like included into everything?
Yes, ma'am. So, when we run various propositions, those monies, so let me say this, we have one bank account, okay? And everything flows through one bank account, all right? We have different funds, but we have one bank account, okay? And that's typically how school districts operate, all right?
Okay,
And so when we share the financial information with you on a monthly basis, it's inclusive of everything, okay? It's inclusive of all of the funds that we have. It's also inclusive of all of the revenues, all the expenses. It's all coming out of one particular fund, all right? When we did Prop R, for instance, we normally would give the board a monthly report on Prop R, okay? And we tried to separate those because we wanted to highlight the fact that we asked the public for permission to do some capital improvements, and that was in 2018, all right? And each month, myself and Ms. Green would come before you to show you what we did with Prop R. A lot of beautification projects around the district, playground equipment, sewer repairs, a number of initiatives with Prop R, okay? We went to the public last year in April and asked for funds for Prop E, okay? Proposition E, educational equality is what we called it. Those funds get lumped right into the general fund. That's where that money went, okay? And I believe it's on one of my reports that will highlight, actually it's in the budget. I could kind of point it out in the budget. In the new budget, you will see a huge increase from the previous year of about $4 to $5 million in those property tax line items. Well, that's all Proposition E, okay? So to answer your question directly, we can isolate it if that is the request, but because those monies all get pulled into one account, okay, we try and do our best to present the whole picture and not just the impact of those funds, if I'm saying it properly. So
you are, so the answer is no, you don't separate it out.
for these purposes, no. But if there's something particular that you would like to question or like to see, then we probably could isolate and extract some information.
Yeah, but that's extra work. for
Yes,
you.
it is.
So
Yes,
I'm
it is.
not trying to do that. I'm just want to know
Sure.
what's readily available
Right.
for the public. I appreciate
Yes, ma'am.
if a citizen asked that question and you would go through that
Absolutely,
generation, but
absolutely.
we're not trying to do that. I was trying to understand how you actually account for it.
Yes.
For instance, I keep campaign literature
Okay.
and the proposition
E,
E or
yes.
P, whichever one, for capital improvement,
Prop R, yes.
Prep R included new air conditioning units for buildings.
Right.
And it was specific. They named the name of the school.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
what they're gonna do.
Yes, ma'am.
So one of the schools that was named was the high school
Okay.
for new air conditioning units.
Right.
And now we've got an air conditioning unit that's not working.
Sure, sure.
So did we get the new air conditioning unit in 2020? Or was
Okay.
it 2021? Whatever, 2020, I think it was. Or maybe it was
Yeah.
2021.
Yeah.
Did
So,
we get the unit and it broke? Or what's the difference? Or help me understand why we need to rent some air conditioning units when the public approved for you to buy new
Right,
air conditioning units.
So let me say this, the air conditioning units that go on top of our buildings, first of all, there are multiple units on just one building, okay? And the upkeep and the maintenance on those units, first of all, we got a lot of older buildings in the school district, okay? And I'll tell you, we have not done a great job of, each year annually doing preventative maintenance work or replacing those things as they age and bring in new, okay? We still got a boiler and chill system, okay? Last time this year in this building, you can only have the heat on for so long, okay? You can't turn the heat on and then turn the air conditioner on like you can do it me in your house. I can go home and turn the air off and turn the heat on if I want, and it'll work perfectly, okay? And this building here and throughout our schools, it doesn't work like that. And so the needs that are in our school district are so great, okay, that Prop R was only a pinch or did a pinch of what really needed to be done. We're grateful for the ESSER funds, and that is where we're doing a lot of work with air conditioning units, with rooftop units. I say all the time in this school district, we've got leaking roofs because quite often, there are bullet holes that are found in our roofs that are causing leaks, okay, and so forth. And so I say that to directly answer your question. Yes, we bought air conditioning units with Prop R funds, okay, but we've got 9 buildings at the high school, okay? We're not talking about just one building or for one unit. We've got 9 buildings. We've got 12 other schools that we wanted to do some projects at, and so the need was just what we received was it barely touched the real need that exists in the school district. Even when we get done with ESSER funds, we're going to try to wrap around and get all these things taken care of. There still may be a need for the district to do some annual projects to make sure that we keep up. We've got heating units and air conditioning units right now. I'm getting emails on a daily basis. Some of our classrooms don't have air as we speak. And the problem we're running into right now is the parts are on back order, okay? We got the money, now the parts are on back order. And so, our facilities team is working hard. I want to assure you that we're just not sitting around twiddling our thumbs, but we've got a number of initiatives that we're trying to tackle with these ESSER dollars. But
I believe
we're doing our
I'm just
best.
trying to understand it.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
believe you. I'm
Okay.
just trying to understand how this process works
Yes, ma'am.
because I'm new to all of this.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Was there another question? Yes.
Yeah, it's not entirely related exactly to the previous question, but with respect to the fund balance. So it's my understanding that we are, about 107 teachers below the recommended level, right?
I believe so.
Somewhere level. So what I'm wondering, I've been thinking about this is, do we have in place, a plan for the proper teacher hiring levels? I'm wondering if the capital fund, the fund balance now, that really looks great. by the way, thank you. It is somewhat maybe misleading in the fact that we're so below staff with respect to our teachers. That's part of the question. The other part is what plan, if any, do we have in place if and when we have the proper number of teachers on staff?
Sure, sure. And I will say this, and I've said this to Dr. Pruitt Adams and Ms. Morrow Real. If we were fully staffed, we'd be in trouble, okay? Because the monies that we're saving, and that's just real talk, there's no way to sugarcoat it, okay? If we were fully staffed, okay, we'd probably be struggling to meet that 15% fund balance. And so what has allowed our fund balance to look so decent over time is the fact that there are vacancies and there are savings. There are monies that we don't have to spend out because of the vacancies, and therefore that's monies that are staying in our coffers rather than going out as expenses. So that is the reality, but certainly that is our goal. We want to become fully staffed. That's probably a good problem to have, but I think that there are things that if we were fully staffed, that we'd have to do extremely well, okay, and that's monitor our expenses. There are a number of things that we're trying to do, centralized purchasing, and just some other things to just be good stewards of the district's finances. But you hit the nail on the head. If we were no vacancies, then we probably would certainly be chasing our tails trying to keep up with that 15% fund balance.
But Mr. Horsley, and I'll state this publicly, I'm not having anything under a 15. Because a 15 is, when you fall below that, then you are threatening financial distress. And your district can use accreditation because of that. So
Right.
Mr.
Yeah, she's told me my job is on the line if we fall below that 15%. So we're going to do all we can to stay there. But again, and a 15% fund balance that's just the minimal expectation. Okay,
Right.
that's in layman's terms, that's the minimum wage. Okay, you want to go above and keep a solid balance. And in my next presentation, I'll kind of show you historically where that fund balance has been so you can get an idea of where we've grown to. Okay. Are there any other questions for me?
Okay, Dr. Singleton, remain in place for the next two. The next item is item 8J, Annual Secretary of the Board Report for Riverview Garden School District, and it is being presented by Dr. CFO Levon Singleton.
Okay. Hopefully you all have this attachment as well. I'm really going to focus on the first page of the full report, the ASBR. And so let me break that down. The acronym is there. ASBR stands for Annual Secretary of the Board Report. This is an annual report required by the state of Missouri and DESE, where school districts have to report their spending based on funds. And again, we go back to how we give you this summary of fund balance report every month, but this report really helps us feed into the required report, which is the annual Secretary of the Board report, okay? The ASBR for the district. This is the creme de la creme. This report is due every August 15th. If you don't have this report in to the state by August 15th, they start messing with you, okay? There have been times where, because of situations, some within our control and some beyond our control, that our ASBR report has not met that August 15th deadline, okay? And so things that the state does, they withhold some of your state aid payments for future months. But I am happy to report that this year, our ASBR report was submitted prior to the deadline, okay? And so there may be edits or things that need to change or questions we have to answer, but for the most part, the initial report was submitted prior to the deadline. And so we will not face any of those other consequences as a result of not having the report. So let me just share with you part one, the summary is probably the most important piece of this report. And again, you will see that our summary of fund balance report kind of mimics this because we go through each of the funds and you kind of see what the revenues and expenses are. So let's look at where it says, first of all, let's look at under part one summary, go down a little bit and it says on the left, 21-22 levy unadjusted, 21-22 levy adjusted, okay? Let me speak to the tax levy real quick because Ms. Lane, you asked a question a month or so ago about the tax levy and I want to share with you where our tax rates are, okay? If you look at the general fund, that $5, that says $5.81, okay? That is what we levy to get general fund revenues in, okay? That is our tax levy. That is the rate, okay? Compared to other districts, we are one of the highest tax rates, okay? No secret about it. Prop E helped us increase that rate. Prior to Prop E, the rate was maybe $1.65 less. But when we passed Prop E, we asked the community to give us those additional funds, okay? If you go over to the debt service, you see 1.7756. That's $1.77, all right? By law, districts, in order to pay off their bonds or their outstanding debt, school districts are required to levy money in the debt services. All you can do is pay off bond indebtedness with debt service money, okay? So that's a separate levy from the general fund. So we levy at $1.77. That gives us enough money to pay out any outstanding bonds that we have at this time, okay? Next month, we'll be bringing more information about this because it's time for us to establish the tax rates again, okay? So it's time for us to have those conversations. So our total tax rate on the end shows $7.59, okay? That is the total rate. Now, that's the combination of the 581 and the 177. You put those two numbers together, our tax rate is about $7.59, okay? If you look at the next line down, beginning fund balances. If you look at the beginning fund balance and all of the funds going across, I want to just catch your attention to the $19,350,000, okay? If we go down from there, and that I'm in the far right column, total of all funds, and go down. If you'll see, now this is all last school year. So from July 1st of 2021 through June 30th of 2022, these numbers this is the activity that we experience in the school district. So we started with $19 million. That was our beginning fund balance. Our total revenues came in at about $73 million, okay? A lot of that was ESSER money. A lot of that was other sources, but we collected $73 million. You look at the next line, you add those top two, you get the 92 million, the 92,577. Are you all following me so far? Okay. All right. So we've got to transfer to and from, again, capital funds project. All right. We've mentioned that several times. So we transferred from, you'll see the 1.9 under general fund. So we transferred from general fund to capital projects of 1.9. So that netted out. And so we see our expenditures. Keep in mind, the revenues were 73 million, expenditures were 67 million for an ending fund balance of roughly $25 million. What's most important about this page is the unrestricted ending fund balance, which is the incidental and teachers fund of 37.06%, okay? That is the number, or it's extremely close to the number that we had on our end of the year fund balance. We talked about that 37%. And again, this is what we submitted to DESE for our ASBR report, okay? It's a very comprehensive report. We have to go in, we have to, designate our expenses and revenues all in these groups. And so it takes time. So again, the most important thing or pick up from this report is that last year we had one of the highest fund balances that the district has seen in quite some time. Okay. And again, that's all due to, a lot of it is due to the work that my team is doing. I dare not take all the credit. My team does an outstanding job of scrutinizing monies, of telling people no, of doing those things so that we can be good stewards. The only other piece that I want to show you about this report, if you will pull up now, is the historical summary, that other attachment that's next to it. I want to show you the historical summary, Reverend Harsley, because I know that's your next question, right? You want to know how we compare. So let's look at that report there. If you will look at the receipts and look at those years, okay? So in 16 and 17, under total receipts, $64 million, 17, $74 million, 18, and that's 17, 18, that additional monies there, that was Prop R, okay? So the additional monies that you see from, so we roughly collect about $64, $65 million a year, okay? But the additional money you see in that 17, 18 column was because of Prop R, which the public gave us that money for those capital improvements. We see the 63 million, and the next year, the 68 million, the 65 million. And last year, we see another big number, 73 million. Again, a lot of that was ESSER activity. Let's go down to the next set of items, the expenditures. Look under total expenditures. You see 64 million, okay? 65, 65, 72, 60, and 67, okay? Again, those are kind of our historical expenditures. Most important piece is the very last row that says percent of fund balance, okay? That is your fund balance number in previous years, okay? If you look at it in 16 and 17, the district was still able to meet the 15% fund balance, but keep in mind, we had a lot of money going out of the door in tuition payments going to other schools because of the transfer program. So I'm very proud. I wasn't here, but I think the district was doing the right thing. In 17 and 18, 20% fund balance. 18, 19, 16%. 19, 20, that's the year I arrived, 17.5%. 2021, okay, 31.5%, and now 21, 22, 37.06%, okay? I believe had this district not had to endure the consent decree and the transfer program, then we would probably be in a much, much better situation. And so that's why we have to come back and say, hey, we need to go out for this proposition, that proposition, because we have to keep those revenues coming in and offer our teachers competitive salaries, our employers, our administrators. We have to do those things. And so we may be coming to you soon talking about another proposition. We're kind of behind the scenes now talking about another no tax rate increase. Well, we're not going to increase the tax rate, but we're also going to go out for a referendum to try to get some additional revenues, kind of similar to how we did in 2018. Okay. I hadn't planned on talking this long tonight, but I was having fun, and I think you all were enjoying the questions as well. So my apologies. I know everybody's ready to get out of here. So let me end this report. And are there any questions for me at this time? No. All right. Thank you.
Dr. Singleton, you know, I have to say this about Dr. Singleton. He sits in my office often and tell me no, and then he guides me to where I should be, and he really does a good job of explaining it all. So thank you, Dr. Singleton. Our next item is item 8K, ESSER 3 Summer School Grant Revision. It is in conjunction with Policy IGC, Extended Instructional Programs, and it is being presented by our Federal Programs Director, Lakina Curtis.
Good evening once again. You all have information regarding ESSER 3 Summer, the summer school program that we just completed this past June and July. And upon receipt about a week ago, we did get the final allocation from DESE. But what happens is at the start of the program, we get an initial allocation based on the estimated number of students that are expected to attend. So at the beginning of this, at the start, there was an estimated about 1,000 students, a little bit over 1,000 students were estimated to attend, which resulted in the district being afforded the $1,010,431. So what happens is those funds were budgeted, items were purchased, salaries, people were paid for the program, and then the district is required to submit what's called core data, which is the actual number of students to attend. So what DESE does is then have us to revise our budget based on the actual number of students to attend. So based on that, the district indicated to the state that only 761 students attended. So that budget was reduced to the amount of $316,763, causing us to do the revision. And we actually spent $400,858.22 during the summer. We did go over budget, $84,095.22. However, that overage will not come from the district general ledger. It will come from ESSER 3, the local fund. So there's no hit to the district. Are there any questions on that?
So they cut us down $700,000 over 250 students?
Correct. There's a DESE allocation, and this goes throughout the regular school year as well. The district provides, as Dr. Patton indicated at the start of the meeting, an estimated 5,000 something students that are expected. So those numbers are provided to DESE. However, we also have to continuously report our student attendance, and they can't pay us for students we thought we were going to get. They can only give us funds for bodies and seats that were there regularly. So you'll hear throughout the year where different departments will talk about the attendance. There's an expected 90% of student attendance. And that doesn't mean, so if I have 300 students enrolled in my school, however, throughout the year, only 200 reported consistently. DESE is looking at that 200 consistent number of students, and that's how we get funding.
So it wasn't just the summer school attendance that was.
Yes, that was just an example of how it goes, period. So summer school attendance, we budgeted for 1,000 students. We expected 1,000 students, only 700 reported. So they can only give us funds for the number of children that reported.
What I'm saying is that it wasn't a pro rata reduction. I'm wondering if you had 3/4 of the projected students, why wasn't the budget only cut down by one quarter? So what I'm saying, it seems to me, if you had 1,000 projected, 750 average.
Correct.
Why wasn't they allocated? Why didn't they give us $750,000 instead of 300,000?
Why didn't they say it to me one more time?
Yeah, so we were awarded
$1 million,
right,
correct.
based on 1,000 students
Correct.
coming. So we only had 760 students. So that's basically 3/4 of what we said.
Correct.
So it seems like they would have only cut the budget down by 1/4.
So that their allocation, the DESE allocation, which I can share with you. Did she email it to you or me?
So let me answer the question though. So what we submitted to DESE, and I don't have the exact numbers, our numbers came in at a third
Yeah.
of what we submitted.
Oh, I
Okay.
see.
And it
Yeah,
goes
yeah.
by the actual
Yeah.
hours.
So if we submitted 1,000, then we only experienced 333.
I
Okay?
see.
So we were actually a third of the allocation, so it was prorated
Okay.
accordingly. So, yeah. And again, we had an hour-long conversation with DESE just the other day, because I wanted to understand that as well. When we came to the board, we thought we had $1 million to go out and spend on summer school, and we increased salaries, we did a lot of things, okay? And our summer school funds are covered, but that was based on a projected amount. Since summer school was a challenge in the past in all districts, and she shared with us this, we were not the only district whose numbers were higher. You know, all districts, quite frankly, shot for the stars and landed on the moon. That's what the cliche is, okay? So we projected high. Unfortunately, our enrollment was not what we projected, and so they can only pay you what you actually for your actual attendance.
there any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Curtis. Our last item under discussion is item 8L. It is RGSC 2223 Extended Learning Opportunity. It is aligned with CSIP Goal 1 and Policy IM, and it is being presented by our high school principal, Ms. Tracy Nave.
Good evening again, Special Administrative Board, Dr. Patton, colleagues and community. I come to you this evening for discussion, Riverview Gardens High School Extended Learning Opportunity for the 22-23 school year. Just to give you some basis, this year or through the pandemic, we've recognized that our graduation cohort has fallen. The rate has gone as low as 58%. Due to our inability to keep the scholars on campus and rely solely on distance learning. As a result, we've noticed that coming back, our scholars were academically and socially behind in credit attainment. And in an effort to improve our graduation cohort rate, which is the number of students who enter in as freshmen and complete in that 4 years. We want to offer extended learning opportunities. Right now, our freshman class, 41 of those did not fare well last year in middle school, but we still are taking them as a part of that cohort. Full transparency, 112 of the sophomores are under the credits that they need to be a sophomore. 119 juniors are under the number of credits that they need to be juniors, and about 46 seniors are working towards their credits. So we're wanting to offer extended learning opportunity for our scholars that would include Saturday school, after school credit recovery, but also some enrichment activities for students who are wanting to go above and learn different languages. This would be working with our teachers as well as our platform with Edgenuity. And so the high school is asking that the Special Administrative Board approve staff participation and scholar participation in extra duty pay for the purpose of extended learning opportunities for scholars that are inclusive of credit recovery, enrichment, and any tutoring services that we would need to offer at the high school. And this would all be paid through federal funds. This would extend from the time that it is approved at the next board meeting, which would be in September, through June 2023. So at the next board meeting, we'll be coming to ask for a recommendation or approval for that. The budget for this is $70,000 as far as staffing, stipends, and $22,000 for benefits, and that is budgeted in my Title I plan. Are there any questions?
I have a question. Do students still have the opportunity to attend night school in a neighboring district? To, like, if you need, I'm a senior and I need a credit, and so I've exhausted my schedule here. Can I go over to that neighboring district that offers night school and purchase a class?
Some are able to do that. Transportation is an issue, but we have night school also available through ACE Learning Center. But we also try to have our own on campus because we feel like we're the best ones to provide that resource for our scholars. Any other questions?
So, I can't remember, Principal, the turnaround program that we're instituting. Is the high school a part of the turnaround program from the state?
Yes and no. We are not a turnaround school, but all those schools are participating in getting the resources from Solution Tree and the other opportunities through the district that are being provided to the other turnaround schools, which are Highland, Lewis and Clark, and Coke. Meadows.
Okay. And so if that's true, then, so aren't the students going to benefit from, or will the students benefit from participating in the turnaround program to help bring these numbers up to better?
The students will benefit through the teachers growing in their craft through Solution Tree, but direct impact for credit attainment, we're going to need a little bit more.
And so what will you be doing differently? I mean, I think it's a great opportunity, but going to school on Saturday, I mean, I wouldn't want to do it, but
Well,
that's just me.
I understand.
So how do we get them to come to school on Saturday?
Well, scholars I think there's been a wake-up call, and they understand that they need to get these additional credits in order to graduate.
Okay.
We have students who are now understanding the seriousness of this, because as a middle school student, there were no credits, and they just kind of float on and socially promote, but they understand now that they are behind in what they need to do to graduate.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem.
And I want to follow up with that, Ms. Lane and Ms. Nate, because we had a number of students that were also on virtual instruction over the last couple of years because of COVID. And a lot of them did not perform well. And so they received letters that they had to return to campus, and they were behind in their credit. So this may be a way to get them caught up. Also, when the parents received those letters, it was a reality for them that, so your student did not earn. And I put in the letter that because of the lack of credit, they are not projected to graduate with their class. And when parents hear that, that kind of lights a fire, like, wait a minute, what? So we have a number of students who returned, and the high school, under the leadership of Ms. Nave, is doing everything they can to get those students caught up with their credit.
I just wanted to say that I commend you all for trying to, whatever we need to do, and I just commend you all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Nave. That concludes the discussion items. All of these items will be brought forth in the next board meeting for approval.
We will now move to item 9, which is approval of the consent agenda. So I know that we had a lot of items. I do want to say this, that we had a lot of items for discussion. I'm going to ask board members to really take the time to go back through those items for discussion, so that next week when we are approving our consent agenda, any questions, any additional questions you have or whatever, please submit those so that when we approve the consent agenda, we can approve it. All right, so I'm going to ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda. May I have a motion?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And we have, let me see, we got the items for consent. So now, on our agenda is item 11, and that's adjournment. May I have a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
We are considered adjourned. Thank you.
What did you say?
She know what I'm talking about.
She's joking. It's a joke.
She
You
know what I'm-
joked her.
She know what I'm talking about.